there is a faint and barely perceptible sound of far-off rumbling that starts to manifest, gradually but relentlessly growing in strength, before it turns into a loud and fierce trembling that echoes through the surroundings. October 8, 2005. That morning went by in a manner wholly ordinary in the Kashmir region, with its tranquil atmosphere and an overall feeling of stillness, but unnoticed by the inhabitants and all people around. Far under the surface of the earth itself was silently building up an unbelievable energy, an energy which had been triggered to detonate and wreak havoc on one of the most picturesquely stunning, yet hotly contested regions of the entire globe. At exactly 8:50 a.m., a powerful earthquake measuring 7.6 on the Richter scale struck the region of Pakistan-administered Kashmir, with the epicenter located in very near proximity to the city of Muzaffarabad. The abrupt and powerful jolt rocked northern Pakistan violently, and was also felt in various regions of India. As a result of this disaster, buildings collapsed to the ground, entire villages were completely destroyed, and the horrific reality of the rising death toll began to unveil itself. During that doomed moment, the landscape of the beautiful region of Kashmir was permanently changed. The earthquake's force was truly devastating, and the damage it did had a lasting impact on the entire area that would be felt for years afterward. More than 80,000 people would ultimately be officially declared dead as a direct result of this disaster, with thousands more injured, and millions of individuals left homeless and without a home to go back to. Yet amidst all of the devastation and pure destruction, the survivors would struggle desperately for their lives, and as they did, the world would look on in horror as the true scale of the disaster was unfolded before their eyes, revealing the full scope of the tragedy that had been unleashed. The first shock. The earthquake strikes at exactly 8:50 am. The ground, with a sudden and unexpected ferocity, started to tremble and shake. At first, it began as only a slight tremor, a minor earthquake that many might brush off without worry, but it quickly grew into a ferocious and relentless force that jolted everything in its wake. The earth began to ominously crack open, buildings rocked precariously, and many of them eventually fell under the sheer force of the quake, reducing the formerly familiar landscape of Kashmir to a tumultuous and terrifying spectacle, replete with destruction and disarray on a massive scale. The earthquake lasted for a matter of less than 1 minute, but in that short time, everything underwent a drastic change. In Muzaffarabad, which is situated in Pakistan, as well as in Indian-administered parts of Jammu and Kashmir, buildings that once stood proud and tall were now totally shattered into piles of rubble. Roads that were once safe to drive on suddenly fissured open, making them impassable. Mountain slopes that had been stable for centuries collapsed and slid away. It seemed like the earth itself was ripping asunder, spewing chaos and destruction in its path. In those initial seconds following the calamitous event, there was quite literally no escape to be found. Individuals in their homes, on the roads, and even those who were occupied with their jobs, everyone was taken completely by surprise by the sudden twist of fate. The air was thick with swirling dust and airborne debris as survivors stumbled through the tumultuous wreckage, struggling to comprehend the sheer devastation that stretched out all around them in every direction. The destruction, devastation on a massive scale. It was only after the shaking and trembling had finally stopped that the full enormity of the destruction became clear. Whole neighborhoods and entire towns had been totally destroyed and wiped off the face of the earth, without leaving any trace whatsoever behind. The capital city of Pakistani-controlled Kashmir, Muzaffarabad, had been reduced completely to the ground. In India as well as in Pakistan, the scale of the destruction wrought by the calamity was one of immeasurable magnitude and unimaginable size. The northern areas of Pakistan, especially in the highly mountainous and rugged landscape, were hit the hardest. The infrastructure, including key components like roads, bridges, and buildings of all kinds, was destroyed and ripped apart. In the rural villages that dot this landscape, mud and stone houses were leveled to nothing more than rubble, disintegrating as effortlessly as dust in the wind. The fatalities mounted quickly and tragically as individuals became trapped under the rubble, buried alive by the very buildings they once thought were safe and secure. The devastation did not stop there. The earthquake triggered massive landslides, which blocked roads and leveled entire villages to the ground. In a few cases, entire mountainsides were moved, burying everything in their path. The region was left in a state of total devastation. The ongoing struggle to survive, a tale of rescue efforts and utter desperation in the aftermath of the earthquake. Survivors now had an even bigger fight on their hands staying alive afterward. With roads demolished and infrastructure damaged, getting to the areas that were hit was a Herculean task. The mountainous and rugged terrain of the area posed serious challenges that made it near enough impossible for rescue teams to navigate and reach the areas that were most severely hit by the disaster. Despite the mobilization of many various rescue teams from countries around the world, the scale and extent of the disaster made the aid and assistance provided slow to be delivered to those individuals who were most in dire need. As a result of the difficulties involved, many survivors were forced to fend for themselves in quite desperate conditions, without food, clean water, or required medical attention. The situation in the region was absolutely critical and alarming. The hospitals were totally swamped with the tremendous number of injured people needing immediate attention, and subsequently, stocks of basic necessities like medicine, food, and clean drinking water dwindled at a frantic pace. In this dire circumstance, individuals had no other option but to consume contaminated water, which made the risk of disease outbreaks in a part of the country that was already shattered by a multitude of hardships considerably high. For many, the struggle to survive became a tiresome and unrelenting daily battle that never seemed to end. Families were forcibly separated from each other, their homes destroyed to rubble and splintered wood, and the livelihoods by which they earned their living completely destroyed. And, in addition, the psychological damage caused by the earthquake was just as intense and devastating. How does one even start to think about starting anew when everything familiar and comforting that they've ever known has been lost forever? The worldwide reaction, assistance, and global solidarity in the days following the disastrous event. The world came together in a bid to respond to the catastrophic tragedy that had occurred. Nations across the globe, in solidarity of purpose, promptly provided assistance in terms of foodstuffs, pure water, medical equipment, and rescue personnel to assist in providing essential relief to the earthquake victims. The international community, through vigorous leadership by the United Nations, promptly assembled an assortment of resources to provide assistance and relief to Pakistan and India in this hour of utmost need and adversity. The United States, United Kingdom, and China are just a few countries that answered by deploying trained search and rescue teams as part of a cooperative effort to assist in locating and rescuing any potential survivors that might have been trapped beneath the debris. Even so, the enormity of the disaster was such that despite the large-scale international response of so many nations, the process of recovery was excruciatingly slow, was plagued with issues, and was marked by numerous setbacks. However, despite foreign aid rushing in to assist, the deep-seated political divide that had previously existed between Pakistan and India significantly hindered the dissemination of valuable resources. Both nations were dealing with their own set of logistical problems, and this only served to add to the complexities involved, and the contested border that the two nations shared further served to hinder them from coordinating the relief efforts in an effective and timely fashion. The recovery, a long and difficult journey to restoration and contrition following the devastating Kashmir earthquake that struck the area in 2005, was a slow and arduous task. Though the foreign aid that poured in gave the rattled survivors much-needed relief at the time, complete restoration of the region took years in full. Entire cities had to be rebuilt from almost nothing before they could even be restored at all. Yet the overwhelming loss of life incurred as a result of this disaster, and the profound, lingering emotional scar left in the quake's wake would never entirely disappear or be made fully to subside. The survivors, in the midst of the sheer destruction and loss, came together to rebuild. Communities came together to reconstruct homes and schools, and though the physical scars of the earthquake healed with time, the emotional scars remained. For most of us, the earthquake was a sobering reminder of the very fragility of life itself and how suddenly and instantly all we have can become undone in the blink of an eye. It was a test of ultimate human resilience, disclosing not only the unshakable will to endure, but also the sheer power it takes to recreate and rebuild out of a condition of complete nothingness. The Kashmir earthquake of 2005 altered the area permanently, yet it also showed the world the power of compassion and solidarity in the wake of disaster. We would like to take this moment to thank you for viewing this Mind-Blown Moments video. If you have enjoyed the information provided in this video as informative and helpful, we kindly ask that you support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel for additional interesting content covering significant world events. Until we meet again, please do take care and be safe. Catch you in the next videos.